As crazy as it may sound, should Jaydon Blue get the quarterback treatment for the remainder of the offseason?
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Longhorns, the show. Jonathan Davis and Lacey Butler, your hosts. Today's episode of Locked On Longhorns brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It is football season. Make sure you're on Gametime, getting the cheapest tickets possible. In today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, how much contact, if any, should Jaydon Blue take for the next 15 days as we prepare for Colorado State? And the second segment, some very important practice notes that have come from your favorite football team this week. And in the last segment, who leads the SEC in passing this year? Carson Beck is the current favorite, but I like the odds for Quinn Ewers, and I like his chances. All of that and more on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So I know what some of y'all are thinking. It sounds crazy to me still, right? Should Jaydon Blue get the quarterback treatment, right? Should a non-quarterback put on the green jersey and not get touched in practice, right? And it probably would have sounded a little bit crazier to me a couple of weeks ago, right? We saw somewhat of a precedent for this where there's a video of Deion Sanders coming out and saying, don't touch the quarterback and don't touch Travis Hunter. And everybody, of course, because we're just used to only the quarterback getting that type of treatment, saying, well, why wouldn't you touch Travis Hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense if you know that you need Travis Hunter to win games at a high level this year. What's the point of him taking a bunch of hits in practice? And hindsight is always 20/20. But now I'm sure we wish that Cedric Baxter and Christian Clark would have taken a few less hits in practice, right? Even if you want to look at it on the NFL level, this is a completely different situation. You know, we're both Cowboys fans, and I promise you I'm not giving any, credit or slack to Jerry Jones.
Unfortunately.
But Jerry Jones has said, like, I could pay CeeDee Lamb and he could be here right now, but also we don't want CeeDee Lamb taking any hits. So when he said, I don't have any urgency to get him in here right now, I know for a fact that CeeDee Lamb is healthy, right? And at least you can go into the season with that peace of mind. So when we look at the running back situation now at the University of Texas, you've lost Cedric Baxter for the year due to a LCL and a PCL tear in his knee. You've now lost Christian Clark for the year due to a torn Achilles, and you have 3 scholarship running backs on the roster in Jaydon Blue, Trey Reisner, and Jared Gibson, right? So the question is, should Jaydon Blue get the quarterback treatment, right? Like, should Jaydon Blue be bubble wrapped and not essentially touched until the season starts? And here's my argument for it. I'm going to give you my argument for it and my argument against it, and then the middle ground, right? I'm just going to give you everything.
Okay, there we go.
At this point, Jaydon Blue is the second most important player on this football team. And I'm going to say it again. At this point, Jaydon Blue is the second most important player on this football team. Obviously, quarterback position, Quinn Ewers, he's number one. And I'm not saying Jaydon Blue's the second best player on the football team. I'm not saying that. But he's the second most important. I think any other position right now outside of running back, you could lose somebody, and I'd be like, we probably still be pretty decent, right? Kelvin Banks is all world, you know what I mean? Maybe not Kelvin, but Jaydon Blue, at this point, I'm fairly confident that Texas cannot reach its ceiling without a healthy Jaydon Blue or Jaydon Blue playing like a superstar this year. I mean, even if we lost Quinn, I love Arch Manning. You know what I mean? I could cope with it. I could figure out a way to convince myself that Texas would really be really good this year. There is no argument for Texas being a championship contender this year without Jaydon Blue playing like a superstar at this point with 3 scholarship running backs on the roster. So like I said, if you know you need Jaydon Blue, if you're desperate for Jaydon Blue to play like a superstar this year to win games, then why risk him getting hurt over the next 2 weeks of practice when it doesn't mean anything? The second thing is the offseason started January 2nd, right? We played our last game on January 1st against Washington. So the offseason started on January 2nd. What can he show you over the next 2 weeks that he hasn't shown you over the last 7 months? At this point, we know what Jaydon Blue is. The staff knows what Jaydon Blue is. The next time he should play, do anything meaningful against Colorado State. And speaking of Colorado State, that's somewhat of a tune-up game. No disrespect to the coach, no disrespect to the players. I know they're going to come out and play hard, right? But they're not Michigan. They're not the rest of Texas's schedule. Texas should be able to go in there and beat Colorado State at home, even with the somewhat rusty Jaydon Blue, right? So, if he gets his first, if he touches the ball 20 times in that game and he's a little rusty, that should prepare him enough along with practice that week to get ready for Michigan, right? Now, I'm going to give you some middle ground. We saw on Inside Texas from the last practice report, they said that Jaydon Blue didn't participate in a lot of team stuff. So it already seems like the staff is kind of limiting or decreasing his workload. This is what I think is best for Jaydon Blue moving forward. We know we got the scrimmage on Saturday. We heard last Saturday that they ran about 100 plays, right? About 100 snaps.
Yeah.
I don't think Jaydon Blue should participate in more than 20 of them.
No.
I'm so serious. I don't think Jaydon Blue should
No,
participate.
I'm with you.
And I don't even care how many touches you give him, but he should not be in that scrimmage for more than 20 plays, right? At this point, you should significantly decrease his workload to make sure that he is 100% healthy and ready to go against Colorado State. So I'd be cool with him getting the quarterback treatment. I don't think that would set the best precedent for all the other running backs and wide receivers that are getting smacked, you know what I mean, by the deep middle. But I do think that you need to decrease his workload and understand that this season will not be as good as you think it is without Jaydon Blue on the field. What do you think?
No, absolutely. And I also think, I also think that a lot of the guys on the team, also, they see the running back room, they see what's going on. And I think they'd understand a little bit, if we, bubble wrap Jaydon Blue a little bit more than normal. But no, I'm definitely with you, limit his carries in practice, take him out on the inside runs, any of those big body runs when those most physical parts of practice, when you're going to be getting slammed up the middle and everything like that. Just for now, just until let's just make it to the season. Like, let's just make it to the season. We're so close. The last thing that we need right now, we know Sark wants to run the football. We know that's something that he wants to do in his offense, and you can't do that with no running backs. So, and we're already trying to pull people from other different position groups and everything like that. So whether, honestly, like, whenever he's in, quick whistle, like you said, green jerseys, if necessary. You can't put them in a bubble because you need to, obviously they need to have that physicality. They need to be ready for the, grind of the season whenever it comes. But no, I'm definitely on the same line as you with, let's bubble wrap him as much as possible, keep them as safe and as healthy as humanly possible, take him off special teams, no special teams reps. No, like, it's just about limiting the types of reps that he gets just based off of the health in the room already. Like I said, we're already trying to pull from other position groups and everything like that. So we're already thin at the position. That's the last thing we need is Jaydon Blue, of all people, going down. The last little bit of experience in that room that we have. So
yeah, and we've talked about it, behind Jaydon Blue, there's only 12 career carries, and they all come from Trey Wisner, right? And so, we've seen since Steve Sarkisian started, we use 3 running backs. We have 3 running backs, and we'll talk about it a little bit in the next segment, but it seems like 2 of the 3 guys that they've experimented with at the running back position is probably not going to work out at the running back position. So a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll get into that just a little bit here in a second. Sorry, I got a million buttons to click before I can even read that. That's how we do it here on Locked On. Sorry about that. Jeez. All right, today's episode of Locked On Longhorns brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. My Rangers won last night. We were down 4-7 in the 9th inning, down to our last strike, and came back and won in extras. We're so back, even though we're 10 games back in the division. We're still so back, right? Priority last-minute deals on the Gametime app. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals, save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals, save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Make sure you turn on this feature to see the all-in pricing. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And it doesn't just have to be MLB. WNBA starts again today. You can get those tickets. College football is coming up. You can get those tickets. And of course, the NFL is coming up. You can use the Gametime app to get those tickets as well. All right, we are back. Let me. I knew I forgot something. We didn't already gave him enough money to turn the money off. All right,
There we
so
go.
talking about the practice notes. These are from Inside Texas. I always source these Inside Texas Horns 24/7. Twitter, wherever I can get them from. I always say, shout out to IT doing such a good job of bridging that gap, between the football team and us. I always feel like I'm there at practice, or maybe my imagination is just vivid, right? But some of the things that have come out, about practice over the last week are very interesting since the last scrimmage and leading into the next scrimmage. First thing me and Lacey want to talk about is Jaydon Blue locking down that boundary corner spot. We heard all offseason, or at least since Javion Cole, the San Jose State transfer, came aboard, that there was a competition, right? Active competition at that spot between Javion Cole and Gavin Holmes. But, one day it was Gavin Holmes is better. The next day it's Javion Cole is better. And as I said on the podcast, if you got two girlfriends, you got zero, right? If you got two boundary corners, you got zero, right?
Yeah.
And now it seems like the philosophy is to get the three best corners on the field, right? Jaydon Blue at boundary or field, maybe. I don't know. That always throws me off. Malik Muhammad on the other side, and then Jalen Gilbo at star. So those are your, first team corners right now is Jaydon Blue, Jalen Gilbo, and Malik Muhammad. Lacey, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I did. So I talked to Coach Charlie Williams he's over at Inside Texas. And I kind of talked to him about the practice notes as well and kind of walked through them with him. And he did verify that it was that Jaydon Blue is locking down the boundary corner side and over Javion Cole and Gavin Holmes. But Jaydon Blue is obviously one of those very versatile guys. We've seen plenty of him, but with Gavin Holmes, it's just one of those things where he's just been getting kind of beat on the deep ball. That's a lot harder to say than it sounds, but does really, really well. He's done really well in the short game and everything, but he's just getting not consistently getting that. He's consistently getting beat pretty deep. So that's something that he's been pretty struggling with and everything. But obviously that's something that we don't want happening in a couple weeks. We need those guys to be locking down those corner positions and everything like that. So obviously Javion Cole is just new to the defense. So it's something where I feel like Javion is going to be really, really good for us once he gets more of those in-game reps and those in-game practice time or in-game practice. But I mean, it's basically what it is, for a guy like that who's new to the scheme, just new to Austin in general, new to Sark. And I'm really excited to see what Javion Cole is able to do because I really like his skill set. But Jalen Gilbo is just that guy that the staff really, 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 really likes. They've always wanted to have Jalen Gilbo on the field. Obviously, a couple years ago, he got hurt. Last year, it was a little bit of a struggle, but he's been doing a good job for coming off of an injury. A pretty bad injury fairly recently. But like I said, this is the guy that they want him on the field. They've made that very, very clear. He's gotten beat a little bit in camp as well, but like I said, he's been doing a good job coming off of an injury and having a not so stellar last season. But like I said, it's a little bit more surprising, but it doesn't shock me that Jaydon is doing what Jaydon does. So
yeah, I think that it makes sense to get your three best corners on the field. And I would, at this point, surmise that our three best corners are Jaydon Blue, Jalen Gilbo, and Malik Muhammad from everything we've read. My concern is that Jaydon Blue has always played his best football around the line of scrimmage, right? Yeah. And now you're asking him to play on the outside where he's going to have to cover deep, right? And when we look at it, he didn't have the best end to the season. In the Big 12 championship game, he was the primary, defender on Brennan Presley, who went for 9 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. And then in that Washington game, I don't know who he was the primary defender on, but they all went off, right? Romeo Duze had 125
Whoever
yards.
It was.
Jalen Polk had 122 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, had that big catch on, Terrence Brooks. And then Jalen McMillan had 58 yards and a touchdown. So even your slot receiver can't give up 60 yards a game. That's 720 yards over the course of a regular season, right? That's not good. So, Jaydon Blue didn't have a great end to the season. I know that he was dealing with the injury, but, he struggled to cover deep at times. And so it now feels like you're going to have 2 slot corners on the field with Jalen Gilbo and Jaydon Blue. So we'll see how that works out. But like I said, I'm more in favor of it because I know that our 3 best corners are going to be on the field. We know Jaydon Blue is a playmaker. Speaking of the wide receivers, it seems like the rotation at ones right now is Silas Bolden, Isaiah Bond, and DeAndre Moore in the slot, right? Matthew Golden had a really good scrimmage, but DeAndre Moore still getting those first team reps. What are your thoughts on those being possibly the first 3 wide receivers on the field? Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, and DeAndre Moore.
I'm not mad at it. I kind of like it. I kind of like the set. I really, really like the set. Obviously, we've heard a lot of really good things about Silas Bolden already in camp. Quinn talked about it, and it talked about him and Jahdae Barron both. I talked about it a couple days ago. Both of them mentioned Silas Bolden in their media availability as a guy that's come in with a really good head and a really good mindset to really get to work and do what he's got to do to, step up and make an impact on the field this season. But the one that I was really not necessarily surprised by, but I feel like most people are going to be kind of like a little bit more shocked by is the DeAndre Moore one, just because I feel like we don't hear as much about a guy like DeAndre Moore, but at the same time, from what I've heard, he's been very much of a Jay Witt type effort guy. He's become a very consistent type target for Quinn. He's become a very trustworthy target for Quinn. And so if that's going to be that third guy in the slot, I'm totally okay with that, especially if, from what I'm hearing, Quinn is really, really working on his, connections with, the newer guys a little bit more, the Boldens, the Bonds, the Goldens, those guys. He has a little bit more rapport with a DeAndre Moore and with a Jonte Cook. So it makes a little bit of sense that he's really, really built up that rapport with DeAndre Moore. Enough for them to, like I said, be even having that Jay Witt type of impact already. So I like the rotation. I really, really enjoy it. I'm excited to see what they're able to do with it. What do you think of it? Are you excited about it? Because I know we had a little bit of a different opinion whenever we were talking about the rotation.
Yeah, I love it actually. There's just one big question mark, but I'll get to that real quick here in a second. I love obviously Isaiah Bond. I think, as soon as he came over, you knew he was going to be your number 1 wide receiver. Silas Bolden, I've just been talking him up. I mean, everybody's been talking him up, but you're just a versatility. I said on here, it may have sounded crazy, but I said he may be the most versatile weapon Sark has had since Reggie Bush. I'm not comparing him to Reggie Bush, just in terms of versatility. I feel like he can do anything in this offense besides, block like Kelvin Banks, right? Then when you look at DeAndre Moore, I think he's just a baller, right? The way he runs routes, the way he just goes about his business. Like you said, he's not loud, but his game is loud. You know what I mean? So I really like DeAndre Moore in the slot. And then, of course, we're going to rotate all of these wide receivers in. My biggest question mark is what's up with Jonte Cook? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was our 4th wide receiver last year. You lose your top 3 wide receivers, so you just expect him to, step up into that spot and, this be his breakout year. And now it seems like he's still wide receiver 4, or maybe even wide receiver 5. And, we've heard a lot of behind the scenes of like people just want more out of Jonte Cook, right? They always feel like he can do more, right? Or they're expecting more. And I'm not sure why that is. So something's not clicking. There's no reason Jonte Cook should have gone from wide receiver 4 to wide receiver 4 again. But at least right now, 2 weeks away from the season, it seems like that's the case. And, that's my biggest question mark. I love the starting rotation. I think all these wide receivers are good. But why is Jonte Cook not taking advantage of his opportunity? That's a big question I have. Next thing I want to talk about, Cole Hudson working with the ones at left guard. Hayden Connor. I should have wrote down his first name. Hayden Connor getting some reps at backup center really quickly. What do you think about that?
I mean, I just think that they're erring on the side of caution with injuries and everything. We're not very deep at the center position in general. So, behind Jake Majors, outside of that, you got Connor Robertson and you got a freshman Daniel Cruz. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with ever having any more depth at the center position. I think that's one of the most important positions on the football field at any time period. So I don't think you can ever have too much depth in that room. So I have no issues with that. And like I said, you don't necessarily love your backups. Oh my gosh, words. I can't freaking talk. You don't necessarily love your backup center being a true freshman. So I have no issues with it. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's interesting either way, right? If it's just about getting, Hayden Connor more reps at center in case something happens, then I'm all for that. We saw last year in the Oklahoma game when Jake Majors went down, it certainly affected our offense. But I do think if you look at this offensive line, the one player on it that would be the most replaceable is Hayden Connor, right? And there's no disrespect to Hayden Connor. There's just all the credit in the world to guys like Kelvin Banks and Devon Campbell and Jake Majors, right? And so, I do think it's, cool that you have a guy like Cole Hudson that could come in and be a very good guard for you. And I think that whether it's spoken or not, I do think there's a slight competition there. So, Hayden Connor being able to work at backup center, I think that helps the team as well. But, I do think Cole Hudson could push him at some point in the season, if it's not week 1, for that starting left guard spot. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of practice, Darian Gillette already moved back to linebacker after getting running back reps at scrimmage. Ryan Niblett tried out at running back, but dealt with ball security issues. Now, Juan Davis is intriguing, right? At the running back position, he has looked good. So what do you think about the fact that Darian Gillette and Ryan Niblett, at least at this point, both seem like they're not going to be working out at the running back position?
Obviously, that's not, you never want ideas like that, especially this close to the season, not working out. That's never a great thing. Niblett's a little bit smaller, so he doesn't offer you that quintessential running back body style anyways. So I think he is going to be one of those guys that struggles in between the tackles a little bit more. So that I definitely see Niblett being utilized more as an extension of the run game and the as a receiving threat, receiving the ball out of the backfield, stuff like that. So that's how I see Ryan Niblett being utilized in the backfield a little bit more. I don't know if I necessarily see him being that, ground and pound type back. So it doesn't necessarily shock me that he's struggling with ball security at that position. Darian Gillette, it's hard going from defense to offense just in general. Like I think that, it makes more sense just to have 2 offensive guys just switch over to the running back position than having a defensive guy switch back over to offense. So that's where my head is at. But what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's the reason that Darian Gillette was at linebacker and Ryan Niblett was at wide receiver, right? And I think that we should have just been in a better position to lose 2 running backs, right? Rather than hoping that you can just pull, something out of your what and put him at running back and it's going to work out. So, I think that, Jared Gibson, Jaydon Blue and Trey Wisner are our running backs. You may have to utilize a walk-on a little bit more. I'm not sure how exactly that works, right? But, Juan Davis, does look like somebody that can come in that position if need be. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that Ryan Niblett and Darian Gillette didn't work out at running back because they're not running backs.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say Darian Gillette has just been receiving more reps at linebacker than he's not buried in the depth chart as much as Ryan Niblett is in the receiver room. So that's another reason why I feel like he switched back to linebacker as well, because he has just been receiving more reps. So it just makes a little bit more sense.
And that's a good point. And I am excited to see him at linebacker anyway. You know what I mean? He's just such a freak athlete. For sure. Him coming off the edge, him playing at linebacker. So, I'm not mad at him not being at running back, right? Let's get to the money real quick. And then we talk about who we think will lead the SEC in passing this year. Some really good odds for Quinn Ewers and some other players. All right, so BetOnline has odds up for who will lead the SEC in passing this year. Of course, even though teams may play more than 12 games, this is going to be a regular season bet. So, it's on a level playing field. Who will have the most SEC passing yards after 12 games this season? Last year, Carson Beck technically led the SEC in passing, but over a 12-game stretch, it was Jaden Daniels who, of course, won the Heisman. When we look at the odds right now, Carson Beck is the favorite at plus 165. Quinn Ewers is right behind him at plus 225. You got Jackson Dart a little bit further down, plus 575. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, plus 700. Jackson Arnold, plus 800 if he can stop turning the ball over. And then Brady Cook from Missouri, plus 850. Those are the odds right now. When you look at it, like I said, Carson Beck overall led in 2023, but Beck averaged 282 yards per game, while Quinn Ewers, who was obviously in a different conference, averaged 290 yards per game. So that's a little interesting there. Just some more, feedback I'm giving you guys that you degenerates that are going to spend all your money on betting, right? Georgia does have the tougher schedule this year, right? So Carson Beck could be in games longer and have to throw the ball a little bit more. But Texas has the better pass catchers and play callers, so Texas would have the more explosive offense, presumably. Texas also has Arch Manning, right? And you know that Sark and them want to get Arch Manning in the game, right? So that could take away from Quinn's passing yards, right? But we also lost 2 running backs. So
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yards, right? And the consensus ranking, everybody I've talked to, every list I've seen, everybody I've talked to from Pro Football Focus has Carson Beck over Quinn Ewers, and he also had a higher completion percentage last year. So maybe just the better quarterback by whatever margin is more likely to have more passing yards, right? If I had to answer the question, or maybe who I think has the best odds, I'm taking Quinn Ewers at plus 225, right? And I know a lot of people are thinking like plus 2225, right? I could get Garrett Nussmeier for the Hail Mary at plus 700, right? And that's why Vegas looks the way it does, right? Because y'all don't even want to multiply your money by 2.25, right? Is that a bad thing to double your money? You know what I mean? Like, is there shame in doubling your money, right? You know what I mean? So, I think Quinn Ewers at plus 225 in this offense, with the fact that we just lost 2 running backs. And Quinn Ewers is going for the Heisman Trophy. That's something he's going to be invested in. That's something Steve Sarkisian is going to be invested in. I'm taking Quinn Ewers at plus 225, according to Bet Online, to lead the SEC in passing this year. But I will say, Garrett Nussmeier at plus 700. We just saw what Jaden Daniels did, and that LSU defense is going to be cheese, right? So he may be in a lot of shootouts, right? That is, if you want to multiply your money by 7 instead of 2.25, then I'm not mad at you taking Garrett Nussmeier. But if you're a real Longhorn, right? If you're a Texas fan like you claim to be, then go ahead and drop some units, right? Go ahead and drop some money on Quinn Ewers plus 225.
Put your money where your mouth is. What do you think, Lacey? For the exact same reasons that you just listed, I'm with you. I do want to go ahead and put it on record that I would like to change my answer from a couple weeks ago. We talked about when we were talking about whether or not Quinn was going to break Colt's record. I said he wasn't going to, but with 2 running backs going down and like for reasons that you just said, with 2 running backs going down, you're going to get put in more situations where you might just have to throw the ball a little bit more. And I'm with you. I'm now back on that train. I'm back with you. So I definitely agree. I definitely think that Quinn could definitely end up being that number 1 spot for passing yards in the SEC year 1. So I'm right on that train with you. Like I said, I just wanted to go on record and say that I changed my mind. I changed my answer.
You got new information.
I was wrong.
Right. You got new information that makes sense that you would change your mind, right? Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Longhorns, part Locked On Podcast Network, your team every